All right, class, welcome to Savy's Business School. Today, I have a question for all of you. Raise your hand if you have the answer. Who are product reviews for? The customer! Very good, very good. The product reviews are for the customer. Excellent. Let's try another one. Now, this one's a little harder. If product reviews are for the customer, then who are book reviews for? Anyone? Gabby, who do you think the book reviews are for?
I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube.
Nope, that's incorrect. What about you, Lauren? Lauren, who do you think the book reviews are for? You're not sure? That's okay. Everybody say it with me. Repeat after me. Book reviews are for the reader. Product reviews are for the customer. Book reviews are for the reader. When you review a product that somebody might buy, you are reviewing it so that other people who come across it can look at those reviews, can see what other customers or other readers or whoever had to say, and know if they want to spend their hard-earned money on that product as well. Sometimes authors might think that book reviews are for them because the book review is about their very hard work. I understand. I'm an author myself. However, class, when you receive a negative review on your product or on your book or on your hard work that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, what do? A, ignore the review. B, ignore the review, or maybe take a look into it and see if there's any constructive criticism you can gain from it, but if there isn't any, or that person just wasn't your target audience, just continue to live your life. Pretty much the same thing as option A. Or option C. Do you go on a tirade insulting everybody who reviewed your work in a way that you didn't like?
Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me. You fucking weird ass bitch. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it.
Gabby, Lauren, I'm gonna need to see you two after class today.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.
What's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. Welcome back to Savvy Writes Books, the channel where we talk about books and business. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe because every Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. Central, I put out new videos about books and business, except today we have a bonus video because there's some shenanigans going on. While I have you here real quick, don't forget to subscribe to my second channel linked in the description below. It's called Your Morning Guru. On that channel, every morning at 8 a.m. Central, my friend RK and I do a live stream where we live the life of various business gurus, except this week is Charity Week. We're giving back to different charitable organizations, and on Friday we're gonna shave our heads. So lately there seems to be this weird trend on social media, primarily Twitter and Instagram, where we're seeing authors of books lashing out at people who gave them negative reviews. We don't do that. That's not acceptable. And I'm not sure if this comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of how the internet book community at large operates, which, y'all, I'm not one who's here to defend the internet book community. I started off as exclusively a booktuber, and now I do booktube stuff as well as other stuff, but I know how nuts that community can get, guys. I know. But there seems to be this weird trend of authors lashing out at people who are giving them negative reviews, and that's not cool. So we're going to talk about why. Today's video is primarily going to focus on the conflict between big YouTuber, vlogger, video creator Gabbie Hanna, along with YouTube commentator and reviewer Rachel Oates. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about Lauren Hough, who recently got in a lot of controversy on Twitter for doing something very similar. However, if you want someone who covered the Lauren Hough controversy very, very thoroughly and did a fantastic job, I highly recommend checking out the video by Jess Owens on her series called Book Community. I will link it in the description below. I love her videos. I think she does such a good job. So let's get into this hot mess of book drama. I'm only awake-ish. I was laying down to take my nap. All of a sudden I go on Instagram and what do I see but one of my favorite creators, Rachel Oates, getting dragged. We don't accept that here. So for some brief background on this situation before we get into the conflict, Gabbie Hanna is a very large YouTube creator. She has been around since the days of Vine, where she first got big, and then moved to YouTube, where she made her channel The Gabby Show, where she did vlogs and storytime type of videos and that kind of thing. She's also branched out into music recently and has done a lot of music videos and recorded a lot of songs, and within the past couple years she released her first two poetry books, her first book being called Adultolescence and her second book being called Dandelion. dandelion. Now, Gabby has mentioned in her Instagram stories that we're going to see that she has felt like kind of a punching bag on the internet, that she's felt that people have been mean to her and have bullied her and things like that. And I just want to be clear, I am not in favor of bullying people. However, I do think it's important that we draw the lines between bullying and criticism, because I think if we're going to be creators and public figures, then criticism and reviews are a natural part of the process, whereas bullying is when you get things like personal attacks and people trying to take you down. I know the difference because I get a lot of various types of comments on my YouTube videos. Someone disagreeing with my argument or critiquing the way that I structured a video or something like that, that's criticism, and I take that in stride. I take what works for me and maybe change things if I need to, versus someone being like, Savvy, you're a dumb, ugly bitch. Like, what? Like, that's bullying. There's a complete difference whether something's a personal attack versus valid and constructive criticism of your work. Now, I am not in favor of anybody bullying Gabbie Hanna or bullying Rachel Oates or bullying anybody, so when you listen to my thoughts on this video, please do not attack any of the creators mentioned in any way, shape, or form. If you want to show them support, please feel free, but I am not condoning any type of harassment or attacks. None of that here. So that's Gabbie Hanna. I've never gotten too deep into her fandom. However, I have heard some of her music, and I actually really like her music. I know her music was getting a lot of hate, which I personally didn't agree with. I think her music's really good, and I actually really like it. I mean, maybe that's a controversial thing to say, but I think she's a very talented singer, and in the books themselves, I think in her books, she is a very talented illustrator. I haven't read her poetry books in full, so I can't speak to the full extent of her poetry. However, her poetry in a lot of cases did seem like it was lacking, but I will give her that I think that her art is really good, and I think that she should continue to pursue and develop those drawing skills because she's got a real talent there. Now, Rachel Oates is the other player in this particular controversy. She has been one of my favorite YouTubers for a really, really long time. I'm actually surprised she and I are not best friends, considering that we both make videos about feminism, we've both critiqued classically Abby, we've both made videos about anti-MLM stuff, we've both made book review videos, and we're both the moms to wonderful staffies. Anyway, she's been one of my favorite creators for a long time because I just love the way that she breaks everything down. I love the way that she really delves into book reviews, and when reviewing YouTuber books or books by celebrities and things like that, it goes beyond just the like, wow, this celebrity thought they could write a book, how stupid. It really delves into the literature. She compares it to other books that she's read, and you can just tell that she truly has a passion for literature and for literary analysis.
I want to compare this poem to one of my favourite poems of all time, which is called Little Red Cap by Caroline Duffy. Little Red Cap is a retelling of the original Little Red Riding Hood fairy tale, but as a metaphor for a relationship she had when she was younger with a much older man, who I think was like a kind of mentor or teacher or something like that to her. On the surface, it's a simple fairy tale. Peel back a layer, and it's a semi-autobiographical story of her life. Peel back another layer, and it's a kind of metaphor for relationships and love and power and sex, loss of innocence even. And then you peel back another layer, and it's a feminist statement about a young girl fighting back against traditional gender roles in relationships, discovering her sexuality, and coming out of it as a strong, independent woman.
And I respect her so much for that. So what happened? Gabbie Hanna, when she released her first poetry book called Adultolescence, Rachel Oates decided to do a review video of it, which makes sense considering that she is someone who loves literature and loves reviewing poetry, and it made sense to review the work of a bigger creator that was selling a lot of copies and things like that. She has a multiple part series. This is the first one is called Gabbie Hanna's Poetry is Bad Part 1. Let's take a look into a little bit of her video, see what she has to say, and then we are going to, after that, take a look at Gabbie's response to everything.
Now, what I will say before we get started is I am not a poet myself. I am just a fan of poetry. That's all there is to it. Could I write better than Gabbie? Almost definitely not. But also, I'm not trying to sell my poetry to anyone else, so that's a difference. I think the minute you start trying to sell your stuff to other people, you know, it's pretty open to criticism.
This right here, okay, if Rachel Oates had been attending Savy's business school in the intro, she would have gotten an A in my class because the reviews are for the reader. She even just said, I'm not personally a poet. I wouldn't have done, I don't think I could necessarily write better poetry than this. However, this poetry is up for sale and being sold as a product and has a certain type of thing that the customer is going to expect. So I want to share my opinion on why I personally was disappointed in this book. That's what you do when you review things. I also want to draw a little distinction right here between being a creator and being a critic. There's a difference between being good at creating something and being good at reviewing something. Not every person who's great at reviewing is going to also be great at creating, and that does not make their reviewing skills any less valuable. If we look at, famous film critics like Roger Ebert, those people were excellent at criticism, at breaking down what the audience might be looking for and what they might like and dislike. So I just want to make it very clear that you do not have to be an expert at creating something in order to be great at critiquing it and picking it apart and reviewing it.
I don't care about her fucking opinion because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people.
Rachel Oates is not claiming whatsoever that she is a poet. She is not claiming that her poetry would be better than Gabby's. She's even done videos critiquing her own poetry and talking about how she's disappointed in her own past work. So she seems very able to criticize herself and things like that. I completely agree with everything she's saying right here.
While we can analyze it and say this is a good poem, this is a bad poem, they're kind of only from kind of technical perspectives. What you like and don't like is completely up to you. It is purely my opinion. So if you actually really like Gabby's poetry, or if you hate a poem that I say that I like or whatever, absolutely fine. We don't have to agree on everything. Like I say, poetry is subjective.
You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it. You fucking weird ass bitch. That's how narcissistic and abusive this person is and how much she cannot accept any type of criticism. Her shitty toxic behavior.
The structure's a little bit confused. It starts off with an A-B rhyme scheme, ends in rhyming couplets. I don't know if that was intentional. So, free verse, lots of enjambment, no punctuation, using a lot of kind of like slang. She's trying to apply the rules of online culture and communication to a poem, which I actually think is a fantastic idea. It just doesn't work here. So the end, the kind of rhyme and rhythm kind of gets away from her. It's actually off to a pretty decent start.
So after putting out that first video, Rachel Oates then went on to put out multiple other videos and created this playlist over here that's called Poetry. So this is the one we just took a look at, Gabby Hanna's Poetry is Bad Part 1. She made a Part 2 and a Part 3 for this particular book, where she did much the similar thing that she did in the first video, which was to delve into each poem, critique the rhyme scheme, the rhythm, the overall structure, the overall meaning within it, and then to compare the style that Gabby was going for in each poem to some of her favorite poems that she's read throughout her life, and talk about what Gabby could have done to further bring out those meanings, or how what she was going for could have been further fleshed out if she had followed some more structure, or, followed the idea further, and used some of her favorite poems as an example of when that type of poetry that Gabby was going for had been done well. So that's basically what she did for all three parts of this. Then she has a whole playlist of different celebrity poetry as well as different poetry in general that she reads and discusses. From there, Gabby prepared to release her second poetry book, which was called Dandelion. Now, I will say, I actually had really high hopes for this book based on the fact that I thought Dandelion, the song that Gabby Hanna had put out, was a very good song. I've gotten it stuck in my head before when I'm like walking to the post office to ship out some orders and things like that. So I just think it's a really good song. I think it's a lot of fun. So I was hoping the book would be fun on the same level. However, it seems that this book had some of the similar problems with the poetry being not fully finished, being kind of like a start to an idea, but then she didn't really seem to take the time or effort to fully flesh it out. What I actually really admired about Gabby Hanna was that she chose to send an arc of her poetry book to Rachel Oates. For those viewers out there who have come to my channel from the business or anti-MLM commentary side of my channel and don't know much about the book or publishing world, an arc is an advanced reader copy, or sometimes called advanced review copy, and basically that's when an author or a publisher sends out copies of the book before it releases to people who could do reviews for them, for a couple of reasons. One, because the more reviews you have on Amazon and Goodreads, that's helpful for the algorithm for recommending the book to other people when it does come out. On top of that, it helps drum up some press for the book. If you're getting, big YouTubers or big Instagram bookstagrammers and big book bloggers to write about your book and to talk about your book, it drums up some publicity. It gets people who are already following them them interested, and often there will be a pre-order link or something in there. People send these books out for free, someone reviews them. However, just because you get the book for free does not mean it is in exchange for a positive review. It just means it is in exchange for a review. You are basically an advanced reviewer of that product. You help with publicity, but you're not paid off to write the review positively. I hope that makes sense. So Gabby decided to send an arc of her poetry book to Rachel Oates, which I thought was fantastic. I was actually really happy when I saw this interaction between them, because I was like, look at this. We have a writer who saw someone who did a lot of criticism of her work and took that criticism in and said, you know what, maybe this criticism was hurtful. However, this reviewer really knows how to review books and did a really good job. So I wonder if she'll think I did better on this one, and I know that her reviews will reach a wide audience, so how about I send it to her? I thought that was amazing and such like a professional and mature way to handle the situation. And then I was happy to see that Rachel Oates took the book, she read it, she seemed to be, congratulatory of Gabby for sending it to her as well. But that didn't mean that, Rachel as a book reviewer is not obligated to give the book a positive review. And while she wasn't mean to the book, she definitely shared her honest opinions. Now, around this time, another controversy came up on Twitter surrounding this that I want to address. At the time, I considered addressing it, but it seemed more of like an interpersonal interaction between people that I, as an outsider, didn't think to get involved in. But now that it's part of a larger thing, I kind of want to talk about it in terms of what it means for book review ethics and what it means for ethics as an author and how authors should interact. I cannot show screenshots because all the tweets involved with this have been deleted, unfortunately. But basically what happened is there's another YouTuber that a lot of you guys know because a lot of people who watch me also seem to like him, and his name is Jimmy Snow. His channel used to be called Dear Mr. Atheist, but he makes content for the atheist and skeptic community and also commentary and things like that. He's done a lot of videos that also address, anti-MLM stuff and, how Young Living essential oils is tied into Mormonism and things like that. He has a lot of really interesting videos, and I've liked a lot of the content that he's put out. However, I was a little disappointed in him involved in this interaction. So basically what happened, I apologize that I can't show you guys anything. Hopefully I tell it to you well enough with my voice.
So we have a mutual friend who messaged her outside of me. I literally did not talk to him at all. He saw that she was doing, and he messaged her and he said, have some fucking compassion. You've been the center of hate campaigns online. Leave this girl alone. Like, you're just bullying. And then she started a Twitter campaign trying to say that I manipulated her friend into defending me. That's how narcissistic and abusive this person is and how much she cannot accept any type of criticism, which is hilarious because she really thinks that I can't accept criticism when the first time her friend confronted her about her shitty toxic behavior, she blamed me, the permanent scapegoat of the fucking internet, and then stopped talking to her friend. Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me.
Jimmy Snow is also friends with Gabby Hanna. There had been a rumor that she had asked him to say this. I don't think she asked him to say this. She basically debunked that. I think he just saw that she, as his friend, was feeling a little down about the fact that her poetry had been getting negative reviews. She was a little scared that her next book wasn't going to be received well, which is completely fair. As an author, when I put out my work as an author, I am always scared that, like, oh, someone might not like this. I might get some negative reviews. But that's just something that is going to happen and is part of the risk of going into a risky creative field where people's opinions of it are going to be subjective and opinionated. But she was feeling a little nervous, which is completely valid. I think he, as her friend, noticed that, and since he was also friends with Rachel Oates and they had collaborated on some of their atheist content in the past, because they were friends, he decided to reach out to her and say, hey, Gabby is feeling a little stressed about this. Just maybe don't post the review, or just remember that, like, when you're reviewing it, remember that she has feelings and things like that. Rachel Oates, posted about this to Twitter. Honestly, I think what this comes down to is not any person being a good or bad person or any person being right or wrong. I think what this comes down to is commentary YouTubers who are not used to book review world conventions. So in the book review world, in the publishing world in general, and these are conventions, they're not law, they're not set in stone. We can always talk about whether some of these things should change. However, it is expected in the book review world that if someone sends you an arc, if someone sends you an advance copy, you should give them an honest review. That's the reason that publishers and authors send them out, is that for the sake of honest reviews. And there is also an expectation that nobody is ever owed a good review or a bad review, and there is an expectation that when your work goes out there, it is up for the public to judge, it's up for readers to judge. It's not polite, it's not kind if people give you personal attacks based on it, and I would never condone that. However, the work itself is now up to public scrutiny, and that is what is expected. So when he messaged her this and she talked about it, first of all, I just want to be clear, she didn't call him out. She was just posted a screenshot and was like, a friend just sent this to me and I feel weird about it. It was that kind of thing. She blocked out his name, everything. And then he was in the comments like getting upset at her for posting it and things like that. And then a whole interpersonal interaction went on that I'm not going to delve into because I didn't get screenshots and I honestly don't remember most of what happened beyond that. But anyway, I didn't originally know that it was him who sent this. I saw this on her Twitter and I originally was like, that is a very inappropriate thing to message someone. Me as a book reviewer and as an author, as someone who has sent my book out to people to review and who has also reviewed other people's books and received arcs of other people's books and does book reviews on my channel regularly, as someone who does that, I found his message to her very inappropriate. If you have a friend who's coming to you and trying to bring their emotions and their friends' emotions and the author's emotions into this, that almost seems like trying to skew a review to me. That doesn't seem like you're going to get the most accurate review from that. And as a reviewer, I found it personally inappropriate. Now, I don't think that Jimmy Snow, who said this, I don't think that he was being a bad person doing this. I think that his intentions were good. I think he was trying to say, you know, I'm worried about my friend here. And I don't think he was thinking of it in terms of the publishing industry standards and book review ethics. I don't think he was thinking of it in that way. However, as a member of the book community, as a member of the book review world and the author world, I was like, you don't do that. No, 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 no. When someone receives a book, like, you can talk to them about your opinions on it, but like, to try to direct any way of how they might talk about it or what they might include in their review, it's not illegal, it's not unethical. Obviously, anyone can say whatever they want to whoever they want. To me, it just seems weird and it doesn't seem conventional for how a book review would happen. So I thought that he was definitely the one who was a little bit out of line there. Again, though, I think his intentions were probably good and I don't judge him for that. But I also don't judge Rachel Oates for posting about it. And I mean, she obscured his name. She wasn't trying to call him out, just for posting about it and being like, friends, I feel weird about this interaction. What do I do about this? I probably would have done the same thing, honestly, because I also would have felt a little weird about it. So at the end of the day, what she did was give her full honest review, as in my opinion a reviewer should. She didn't resort to personal attacks. She wasn't mean. Let's actually take a little look at some of the things she said in her review of that second book.
Gabby actually reached out to me over Twitter to ask if I wanted a copy of her latest book, Dandelion. She told me that she wanted the book in the hands of, in her words, people who actually loved poetry, and she included me in, you know, those kinds of people, so, you know, thank you to her for recognising that. I have to say, I have to give Gabby a hell of a lot of credit for reaching out to me in that way, and for sending me her book, even though I critiqued her last one pretty harshly. I think it shows a hell of a lot of growth and maturity, and more of a willingness to take criticism and learn more than she ever displayed before. So for that, I have a hell of a lot of respect for her, and definitely commend her for that. So here you have a line of 7 syllables, 2 lines of 6 syllables, 1 line of 4, and a line of 3. In terms of the meter, it's all just kind of jumbled and weird too. Your first line is anapestic monometer and then trochaic dimeter, I think. You know, I don't know if you wonder. I don't know if you wonder. Line 2 is iambic trimeter.
She has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art.
Line 3 feels a little more like anapestic dimeter, which kind of just throws everything off. It's like, but I thought you should know.
I accept my criticism from talented, smart people.
Or maybe it's more iambic trimeter, where it's more like, but I thought you should know. None of these words really work or flow together in any kind of natural rhythm, and it feels there's no deliberate meter used, so you just kind of stumble through it without really knowing where the emphasis is supposed to be. I never want to see you again. For now. Thank you for the thank you card.
So that video was posted in October of 2020, about, I guess, 6 months ago now. Wow, time is going fast in the pandemic, guys. I've lost complete track of everything. But she put that video up, and everything seemed to be okay. I mean, it's a book review for a book, as Gabby even mentioned in her Instagram stories that the books were hitting the New York Times bestseller list and were selling really well.
It came out, it did great, it was a New York Times bestseller. It sold consistently $40,000 net. Gross every single month for years. And then it was just doing really well.
It doesn't seem that Rachel Oates' review of this book, hurt its sales in any way, but rather it was just her sharing her opinions, her discussing the poetry and breaking it down. I don't see any issues whatsoever. There weren't any personal attacks toward Gabby. There were no insults toward her. It was specifically Rachel's thoughts on her poetry. And that's all it was. So everything seemed fine, right? And then Gabby responded. She responded just yesterday. At the time that I'm filming this, it might have been 2 days ago whenever I post this, I'm not sure. But she just recently responded to this. And this came just a week after we saw another example of an author responding to reviewers. So really quick, I'm going to show another example of how this just happened recently and how it was a really bad look for that author and how people, had a real issue with that. Again, this is going to be the example about the author Lauren Hough, and I highly recommend that you check out Jess Owens' video about this if you want a more in-depth breakdown of what happened there. I linked it in the description below. But here is what happened with the author Lauren Hough. So this author had just recently released a collection of essays. And in that collection of essays, she detailed a lot of really personal experiences. I'm not going to review that book or Gabby's book or any of these books because I haven't read them. But in that book, she, I think, detailed her experiences having grown up in a cult and then, her life from there. And it seems like a really interesting and very emotional book. So I commend her for that. However, what I don't commend her for is the way that she responded to book reviews. So the night that her book was about to release, she had received some early reviews on Goodreads. One of the reviews on Goodreads was from a reviewer who had given it 4 stars, had thought, maybe 4.5 stars, but I'm going to round down. And another reviewer says, I'm giving it 4.5 stars as well, but I'm going to round up. Now, here's the thing you guys need to know about the site Goodreads. You cannot give half stars. You can give 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars. So if you feel like a book is maybe in between 2 of those ratings, people will often round either way and then in the comments clarify which rating they felt it was more like. Often people will round up, but sometimes people will round down, and that is completely up to the reviewer. There's really nothing anyone can do about that. The reviews she screenshotted and posted on Twitter were one review that said, I just finished this too, 4.5, rounding up, working on the review, and someone else saying, yes, such a good book. I also gave it 4.5, but rounded down. Now, most authors would give anything to be getting 4 and 5-star reviews. 4-star reviews are considered really good. Even a lot of authors and readers consider 3-star reviews to be good. It means, yeah, this book was fine. This was a good time. Usually 2 and 1-star reviews are when you start to get into, I didn't like this book, and then 1 star is like, oh, I really didn't like this book, right? But not every book that you just enjoy is going to be a 5-star review. A lot of reviewers reserve 5-star reviews for books that blow their mind or for those really special books so that there's a way to distinguish those from books that they just enjoyed. So a 4-star review is often a book that you enjoyed. However, Lauren Hough, the author, screenshotted this and said, glad to see most of the Goodreads assholes still giving 4-star reviews to show they're super tough reviewers who need to fall in love, Anyway, no one likes you. And then she tweeted, grow up with the screenshot, which is weird. Reacting that way to a bad review is already impolite and weird, but to react that way to a good review that just wasn't perfect, it's not a good thing to do. And I just want to make it clear that I think that Lauren Hough has been receiving a lot of criticism and backlash on the internet, and I do not recommend that anyone engage with her. I'm not going to be linking her Twitter or anything like that. Do not engage. However, a lot of other readers and reviewers, saw that tweet and they were like, that's really not how you should interact with reviewers, with people who read your book, who liked your book, who took the time to leave a review. What are you doing? Then she started blocking everyone who showed any type of criticism. From there, what happened is something I personally don't agree with, so I just want to give a disclaimer that I don't think this was the best course of action. But a lot of readers, seeing this interaction on Twitter and seeing how rude she was being to readers, went onto Goodreads and started giving the book a 1-star review without even having read it, just to be like, 1 star, this author's an awful person and I don't support her. I don't think that it's Goodreads' job to moderate that in any way. And it's everyone's free to say whatever they want, and if people want to judge a book based on the author rather than based on the content of the book, that's their prerogative as a reader, because again, reviews are for the reader. But I personally would not go onto a site and rate a book low that I haven't read, because I think it's more beneficial to critique the content of the book itself rather than the author. But again, that's my personal opinion. So I don't agree with the readers who were doing that, but that caused her to go onto a big Twitter storm. So when she was talking about the Goodreads assholes, she then replied, with all the writers scared to even like that tweet, I see you. I will hate them out loud for you. I know they're scary as shit. Fucking nerds on a power trip. You forgot to assign homework, motherfuckers. As an author myself, I was not scared to like that tweet. I just didn't like that tweet. I thought it was rude. Then she just continued to be awful, saying, yeah, you wouldn't want to be stuck sitting by one of these nerds on a plane. Somebody was giving her advice and said, you should probably log off now. And she said, you should probably never fucking tell me what to do again. So she's just been very combative and rude. And here's the thing. Reviews are going to be positive sometimes. They're going to be negative sometimes. Sometimes they're going to be overall positive, but with one little bit of criticism. And to see her fly off the handle like that was just really like, dude, this is why a lot of people advise authors not to read their reviews. I actually do read my reviews of my books. However, I read both the positive and negative reviews, and if I do ever respond to a review, it's usually me being like, thanks for your review, or like, I appreciate it, or like, glad you liked the book. But if someone leaves a negative review, I usually don't respond to that, or I'll just say like, I understand where you're coming from, and leave it at that. I would never criticize someone for leaving me a negative review. I have seen review videos of some of my books that have had criticisms in them and negative things in them, and generally I will comment saying, hey, thanks for reviewing my book in a video because I'm happy for the publicity, but I'll never be like, your criticisms were wrong. Why would you do this, you fucking nerd? Like, that's just so mean. What? And that's just like, it's a bad look for authors in general, and as an author, I'm not scared to like her tweet. I don't claim her. I don't want to be like her in this situation. So after, I was like, should I make a video on this? But then Jess Owens did a fantastic video on it already, and I was like, it's covered, we're good. Then Gabbie Hanna comes into this and starts saying the rudest shit about Rachel Oates, and I'm not cool with it because, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Rachel Oates. I think her poetry critiques are amazing. I'm a fiction and nonfiction writer. Primarily, I write children's books. I also have written one business book, and I write a lot of YA and new adult novels and LGBT novels and things like that. So that's my specialty. I'm really not very good at poetry, and I feel like from Rachel's critique videos, I've learned so much about poetry and how it's structured and things like that, and I'm always really excited when she puts out a new poetry video. So to see Gabbie reacting like this not only made me upset, like on behalf of one of my favorite creators, but also made me upset to see an author reacting like this, and to see people just publicly making the author profession look bad and look like we can't take criticism, when for a lot of us, for the vast majority of us, that couldn't be further from the truth. So let's take a look at what Gabbie said in her Instagram stories.
You're a fucking monster. You're a bitch. Where the real narcissism comes in is she says I'm talking about her for attention. You mean Miss 4K views on your fucking makeup tutorial? You talk about me, you get millions. What is it, you manipulative narcissistic bitch? Problem is, and this is where narcissistic abuse happens, is people think that they can say whatever they want about me and that I can't respond. I'm allowed to respond when I want. And you don't get to tell me I'm starting drama for finally responding to the months, the multiple videos, the millions of views, the tweets, the Instagram posts, the fact that you made a book mocking me. You fucking weird ass bitch, you published a book mocking me. If drama means finally having the strength to stand up against people who have harassed, mocked, exploited, and bullied you for years, yeah. I'm a fucking drama queen. I love the drama. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it. Said I was done opening my mouth as long as she shut her fucking mouth, and she can't, which is funny because she doesn't want me to respond and she literally can't help herself from responding even though she's wrong. What happened was I published a book that was about sexual abuse, childhood trauma, suicidal ideation, mental illness, mortality, amongst other things. It came out, it did great, it was a New York Times bestseller. Then she started a hate campaign about my poetry book.
First of all, I think it's very rude to be like, look, she is such a smaller creator than me. She gets so many fewer views than me. You're basically admitting outright that you're doing an elaborate punch down in your videos. I guess I would probably also be someone that Gabby doesn't like based on how my videos have done. Let's just take a look at my YouTube page real quick. All right, here we go. Here's Savvy Writes Books on YouTube. Here's my video that's coming out Friday that might get me canceled because there's already some arguments in the comments. Check this out right here. The TikTok that ended Rachel Hollis's career has 93,000 views. Now let's look at this video, behind the scenes of book cover design, where I interview my book 90s Kids that's coming out. I do an interview with my cover designers. 344 views. So this video has 300 times as many views as this video. This video has 0.3% as many views as this video does. When you make a video about something that's current and something that's dramatic and often something that's critical, people are more likely to tune into it. If I'm making a video that's, behind the scenes of book cover design, the people that are going to tune into that are authors and cover designers and people who are genuinely interested in learning about the book cover design process and are learning about how my book cover came together and things like that. Those people are going to click on this video. That video is obviously going to get a lot more views because, one, Rachel Hollis has a much bigger fan base than I do. She has a lot more people that also have been disappointed in her, and it's just, she was a bigger and more current topic at that time. Meanwhile, this was kind of an all-the-time topic, even though my cover reveal had just happened. But my point is, some videos are going to get more views than others. And I admire Rachel Oates for the fact that she's going to make that makeup tutorial that might not get as many views as the poetry review, because that's the video she wanted to make. That's why I still make writing vlogs, because I'm interested in that content. And if a certain viewer doesn't watch it because that's not the thing that they're there for, that's fine. And I completely understand that those videos might get fewer views because it doesn't have as wide of an appeal to a general audience, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really not a point of criticism to be like, your videos that aren't about me get fewer views and therefore you must have been talking about me exclusively for attention. No, she was talking about you because she wanted to critique your poetry. It's the same thing when I talk about anti-MLM stuff, that gets more views. When I critique business gurus, when I do a takedown of Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or Rachel Hollis or one of those people, that's going to get more views. Am I doing it exclusively for the views? No. Will I be honest and say that I appreciate the views? Absolutely, because I create these videos hoping people are going to watch them. I create these videos because I want people to hear what I have to say and to see my hard work. Absolutely. However, those topics are things that I'm genuinely passionate about, and I care about exposing the shady business practices going on that targets young entrepreneurs and targets women in business and things like that. So yes, I'm absolutely going to talk about those people who are exploiting others and make those videos as well. So I think that it's just kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a straw man. It's kind of a misrepresentation of her true intentions. I just think it's rude that Gabby decided to call Rachel Oates a bully when Rachel was doing poetry critiques and critiquing the content of the work itself. Meanwhile, Gabby is the one out here calling her a bitch and calling her all of these names and accusing her of all of these things. It really seems like one person is doing criticism and the other is doing personal attacks. And again, that's why we need to understand that there is a distinction between criticism and bullying. Saying negative things to or about another person is not always bullying, and it is not always a bad thing. And I think because we've been stuck, we talk in this channel a lot about toxic positivity, and I think because we've been stuck in this mindset of toxic positivity for a long time, people start to think, oh, if you're saying anything that's not positive about me, this must automatically be bullying, or it must automatically be negativity that's trying to bring me down. And no, I think we all need to remain open to criticism. If you disagree with me, you're welcome to give me some criticism in the comments below. Again, like I mentioned, I'm scared that I'm going to get a lot of criticism on Friday's video. However, I'm open to it because I understand that everybody who comes to my channel is coming here from a different worldview and a different mindset. And if we didn't all have different opinions and beliefs to share, then the internet would be a lot less interesting and valuable of a place. Beyond that, can we talk about the fact that Gabby Hanna tagged Rachel Oates in her Instagram stories? So Gabby Hanna has 3 million followers on Instagram. I can't tell you how many Rachel Oates has right now because her Instagram got taken down. Apparently, from tagging Rachel Oates and making it so that all 3 million of her followers could just click on that tag and automatically go over to Rachel's profile from there, here's what happened. So Rachel Oates posted on her community tab on YouTube saying, "Hey everyone, a quick update. A certain someone's millions of fans have decided to mass report my Instagram account and it's temporarily disabled while Instagram while they review it. But as I've done nothing wrong, I'm sure it'll be up soon. I'm just waiting on Instagram to review it. But mostly I'm just sad because of all the Kyra photos." Kyra is her very adorable dog, by the way. "Because of all the Kyra photos and memories on there. I obviously have all the photos backed up offline, but it was such a nice little timeline of my life and I can't believe people are being like this because someone decided to publicly call me a bitch and every other name she can think of for videos I made a year ago. This is incredibly frustrating and if anyone can advise me about what to do, I'd be grateful. Thank you. But until then, don't stoop to you-know-who and her fans' levels. Stay above the name-calling in games and keep being awesome. I'm heading back to work on the video I'm editing now, but I'll keep you updated on the Instagram situation." So I found this incredibly sad as well. First of all, that Gabby having a lot of fans who are younger and who probably don't know much about book review etiquette either and who are probably just seeing this and taking the side of their favorite creator. I don't necessarily blame all of her fans. I'm not sure if her fans, didn't fully understand the situation, but to put up this story accusing someone else and calling someone else all these names, tagging them so that all of your fans will think that they did something wrong to you and go and mass report them, getting their account taken down for something they didn't even do. I just feel it's a level of harassment that Rachel absolutely didn't deserve. It's very difficult to be a reviewer out there because people get very, very passionate about their work. And I understand, guys, as I've mentioned a million times, I am an author myself. I am an artist. I am a creator. I'm a video creator. I'm a small business owner. I understand what it means to put your heart and soul into a piece of work. But everyone has to remember that just because something means a lot to you doesn't necessarily mean that it means the same thing to your customer. If you are, writing a poetry blog or have a writing blog where you put your work out there for free, as people know, it's often considered rude to leave negative reviews on fan fiction that's available for free on websites because that's something free that people just gave to you. No one's trying to profit off of that. But when you're trying to sell something to someone, when you're trying to get someone to part with their money, to give that money to you for your product, if they're not satisfied with that product, that's their right as a customer to leave an honest and subjective review. I also just want to quickly touch on the fact that Gabby brought up Rachel making a parody book of Gabby's poetry. So Rachel did this video, which I actually loved. I thought it was one of the funniest things ever. Rachel made this video after reviewing Gabby's poetry. She made a video, which was kind of this game she played with her dog, Kyra. She made this book that was a parody of Adultolescence, and it was called, I think, Dogolescence, and it was poetry by her dog. But basically what Rachel did was she wrote, some simple poems and then had little fill in the blanks, and she would put treats down on cards on the floor and have her dog choose which treat she wanted, and that's the word she'd fill in. It was a very adorable video with her dog. I love her dog so much and think she's so cute. And the book just went up as a parody, and I believe she may have even donated some of the profits. So it was just a really nice thing overall. Again, I don't think parody's a bad thing. If someone wants to make a parody of me, go ahead. That's not bullying, it's parody. I have merch that I profit off of that says, "Girl, wash your ass." That's a parody of Girl Wash Your Face because I thought that book sucked. I have a sticker that says Girl Stop Plagiarizing. It's a parody of Girl Stop Apologizing because a lot of that book was plagiarized. And as an author myself, I am not a fan of plagiarism, as I'm sure you guys would assume. So yeah, I do parodies of bigger creators' work. I do parodies of other things that I can make money off of. There is nothing wrong with that. I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem here at all. The only place I see a problem is with Gabby's use of resorting to gendered slurs and actual personal attacks rather than engaging with the criticism, or actually rather than not engaging with the criticism and just leaving it as is. Either that or doing what she did before and sending Rachel arcs of her books to review, or, sitting down with the criticism and saying, was she maybe onto something with some of this? Do I want to change my rhyme scheme? Do I want to try to have a different type of structure? And if at the end of the day she decided, actually no, I like my poetry as is and I have plenty of audience members who like it as is, great. as she mentioned in her stories, the books were selling really well, so keep doing what you're doing. I don't see why any of this had to be a problem. But that's my thoughts on everything. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below. I just think that this was a really, bad look for authors in general, and I don't appreciate seeing authors treating their reviewers this way. If you guys want to review any of my books, they're all linked in the description below as well. If your review is bad, I promise not to slam you in an Instagram story unless you're into that kind of thing. I'll see you guys again on Friday for a video that I'll probably get a lot of criticism for, but criticism is fine on the internet. This just in. There's nothing wrong with it. In the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses and have a fantastic Wednesday. Goodbye, friends!
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.